Hello ladies, gentlemen, boys, girls, innies, outies and in-betweeners. My name's Dan and welcome back to another PAP Reports. Today is Tuesday the 25th of February 2020 and we're starting today with yet another South Yorkshire police officer. Yes, I said officer because this one was indeed a sergeant. Now this is from before the weekend. I missed it, so here it is for you now. This is in fact an update to a story in PAP Reports on the 30th of January. I'll pop a link to that up there in the corner. When an officer entered property stores and stole electrical devices such as numerous mobile phones, 2 tablets and a laptop. Sgt Christopher Simpson, based in Doncaster, has now been dismissed from duty after his misconduct hearing. The misconduct panel considered the allegations that on a number of occasions he had removed items from a police property store without any legitimate reason for doing so. And having been suspended from duty, he entered a police station without permission and misled other officers about the legitimacy of his presence. Sgt Simpson took the electrical items from Doncaster Police Station's property store. The panel decided that on 3 occasions he had no proper policing purpose to remove some items from the property store. It was also ruled that he should not even have entered the police station, as this was contrary to the terms of his current suspension. The misconduct hearing panel found that Simpson breached the standards of professional behaviour in relation to discreditable conduct, orders and instructions, and honesty and integrity. The panel ruled his actions had amounted to gross misconduct and he was therefore dismissed without notice. South Wales Police and the Crown Prosecution Service were branded as being racist yesterday by the family of 13-year-old Christopher Simpson, a young boy whose body was sadly found in the River Cynon near Fernhill Rhondda, Cynon Taff on the 1st of July. After an investigation, the CPS said there was no public interest to bring a manslaughter case despite sufficient evidence. A letter to the family from the CPS is said to have made reference to clear evidence that the suspect pushed Christopher into the river but were not continuing with the prosecution. Christopher was among 14 other youngsters at the river on the 1st of July when he died, and an investigation by South Wales Police concluded no suspicious circumstances. But the family raised their concerns when they found out that only 4 of the 14 boys were actually interviewed by police. The letter from the Crown Prosecution Service is also said to have mentioned that there was clear evidence that the suspect pushed Christopher in the back with both hands, causing him to fall into the river. That push was an unlawful act and it was clearly dangerous in that, on an objective standard, it created a danger of some harm. Christopher was not a proficient swimmer, by the way. It also added that the evidence suggested the push was not in an effort to harm someone, but ill-considered. In a statement on Monday, the CPS spokesman said that decisions on cases such as this are difficult, but each must be judged on its own merit. As in every case, both an evidential test and public interest test must be passed for the prosecution to take place. In coming to our decision, careful consideration was given to the law regarding the prosecution of youths, and the public interest test was not met. Our thoughts are with Christopher's family. Clearly not. We have given them a full explanation of our decision making in this tragic case. Christopher's mother, Alina Joseph, said, "From the start, South Wales Police baffled us by being unable to answer many of the most basic of our questions. If this had been 14 black youths and a white victim, we would have no doubt that the approach of the police and outcome would have been different. We know that family members of the 14 young people involved demanded the police come and interview their children, whose account was radically different from the 4 principal suspects. The decision by the CPS leaves us feeling confused and perplexed as to how some can callously lie about my son's death, inflicting more pain and anxiety on us for the last 8 months, and it is the suspect's human rights that prevail whilst prosecution over my son's death is deemed as not being in the public interest." So there we have it, folks. This country is now that soft that kids are literally getting away with murder. I'm not quite sure how zero recourse for their actions is going to help them become valuable members of society, but hey, that's just my opinion. The police service of Northern Ireland are once again under the cosh as a woman who claims she had been raped has criticised her treatment by the police and prosecutors. 31-year-old Lucy Monaghan has decided to waive her anonymity in order to highlight the treatment she received from the PSNI. Lucy was attacked in April 2015 and a subsequent police ombudsman investigation found a number of failings in the police investigation. Lucy said she was on a night out, met someone she knew, went back to their house. She said she felt sick and later fell unconscious for about 8 hours. When she awoke, she was in a bed and was undressed. Believing that something could have happened, she reported the incident to the police. However, the PSNI investigated, passed the file on to the PPS, but a decision was made not to prosecute. Ms Monaghan asked the PPS to reconsider the decision, and having made her own inquiries, she realised that information had in fact been missed. In the end, Ms Monaghan made a complaint to the police ombudsman. The ombudsman found that her interview with police, copies of social media messages between her and the alleged perpetrator, and medical records had not been sent to the PPS. They also found that the officer in Ms Monaghan's case did not make arrangements to obtain statements from other witnesses. Forensic submissions were also not made until after the PPS had made its original decision. The Ombudsman added that when the alleged offender was interviewed by police, 20 pages of Ms Monaghan's statement where she described what happened on the night were actually missing. In conclusion, the Ombudsman said that the original file submitted to the PPS did not include all of the information required for the PPS's full consideration of the facts of the case. An officer was disciplined. Marianne O'Kane, Senior Assistant Director of the PPS, said, "While it would have been preferable to have this evidence available at the time of the initial decision and the review, the case has been formally reviewed on 2 further occasions and independent counsel has also considered the case. The decision not to prosecute has been confirmed following each review." In particular, Ms Monaghan took issue with one letter she was sent by a senior prosecutor within the PPS which stated, "If we were to prosecute, the court would note that before sexual intercourse took place, there was evidence that you were flirting with him and that immediately afterwards you were in very good form. This is likely to suggest to the court that you had consented to what took place in the bedroom." Ms Monaghan feels that the way the letter was phrased amounts to victim blaming. No shit. They might have well just posted one of their leaflets through the door. You know, the ones from yesterday's PAP report. I mean, flirting because you've had a drink does not mean that you're game. In response, Marianne O'Kane from the PPS said, "I accept that the comment could have been expressed differently, but it was not intended to place the blame on the complainant." Just like the flyers were as well. Lucy Monaghan has raised a number of serious matters which have been carefully considered at a senior level in the PPS. "We take our responsibilities to victims very seriously, and we want to ensure that whatever the outcome of the case, they feel treated with respect and empathy." Well, PPS and PSNI, it certainly sounds like you do like to take things seriously. Police Scotland now, and a report of Police Constable 39-year-old Lee Shaw, who has been sacked last Wednesday following her refusal to resign from the force after she was arrested for drink driving and crashing her BMW in Ayrshire in January 2019. This story was brought to my attention by a subscriber, but you didn't give me your YouTube username, so I'm unable to give you the proper credit. After the crash, which saw Miss Shaw wreck her BMW by hitting a road sign and a bollard before slamming into a roundabout, she refused to give a blood sample for analysis, but the old police privilege creeps in as she managed to avoid jail. We wouldn't be quite so lucky, I'm sure. The original charge for the incident was dangerous driving, but again, police privilege creeps back as they reduced that charge to careless driving despite the severity of the crash. The force is said to have repeatedly advised Lee Shaw to resign from Police Scotland, but she refused to do so, which meant she had to face a misconduct hearing, which formally dismissed her last Wednesday. Shaw was banned from driving for 16 months and given a community payback order with 6 months supervision, as well as a fine of £450. The sheriff also ordered her to wear a tag for 7 weeks with a curfew from 9 p.m. to 6 a.m. It is also believed that a source told one reporter that she was suspended in the meantime because she obviously couldn't be coming into work with a tag on her ankle. Because she's been fired, any reference she gets from Police Scotland for future jobs will state she was dismissed, which clearly goes to show the lengths the police will go to protect their own. They actually wanted her to leave to prevent her from having the dismissal on her record. But if that were you or I, we certainly wouldn't be given that option from our employers. Next, we have 2 reports. The story is highlighted to me by Stephen, who sent me a couple of emails yesterday. Thank you, Stephen. Andrew Crozier, a 27-year-old teacher of a Tyneside school, has been branded a sexual predator and jailed for 10 months. Not suspended, although it may well be for all the good 5 months in the nick's going to do. Crozier sent sex chats via Snapchat to a child who he told, "I'm not a pedo, but don't tell anyone or I'll get locked up." A court heard the 27-year-old groomed and engaged in criminally inappropriate discussion with the victim under 16 during a week of madness.
A week of fucking madness?
Crozier of Meadow Road, Monk Seaton, North Tyneside, was jailed in tears at Newcastle Crown Court after pleading guilty to sexual communication with a child. In one message, he told the girl, "Please don't save the messages or I will get fucked if anything happens." He went on to say, "Please keep it quiet so people don't think I'm a pedo. Ha ha." Adding, "Beautiful lass like you and a lad like me, they will think all sorts." In another message, he said, "I can't be leading you on. I'm not a pedo, you know. I love you to bits, but don't tell anyone or I'll get locked up. So, shh. I mean, shh." Clearly the words of a non-pedo there. Recorder Carl Gumsley jailed Crozier for 10 months and imposed a sexual harm prevention order and restraining order, both for 5 years, and told him he must sign the sex offenders register for 10 years. The judge said the messages had progressed from being on an inappropriate friendly basis to Crozier being a sexual predator. He added, "The breach of trust is considerable. You were twice her age and you were a teacher. I take into account you have lost a considerable amount. You've lost your career, your reputation and the respect you clearly had from reading the references within the community." And what? So he should lose all of that? Recorder Gumsley added, "The girl is a child and is not responsible for what happened in any way whatsoever. This matter is so serious, only a custodial sentence can be justified." But don't worry, we're never that harsh on pedos. That's why you've only got 5 months in the nick. Unfucking believable. The next story from Stephen is about another delay in taking an offender to court. We spoke last week about a case that took almost 4 years to get to court in North Wales. This one has taken almost 2 years. Nathan Thompson left a man with a broken cheekbone in Newcastle city centre after downing a bottle of vodka. Thompson was arrested quickly following the attack, but then released under investigation, which we know is a tactic used by police instead of bail. However, he heard nothing more for almost 2 years. After being told about the delay in charging Thompson for the April 2017 offence, recorder Carl Gumsley said, "That's utterly ridiculous. There are times when released under investigation is appropriate, and there are times when a cynic might take the view it's being used to avoid proper procedures as to bail, etc." No shit. I can't even begin to understand why it would take 2 years. But I can. It's because the police are not accountable and think they can literally get away with making people put their lives on hold for as long as they want. Not that I'm defending Thompson, by the way, but the victim too would have had to wait all that time for any justice, and that's simply unacceptable. Prosecutor Barry Robson said the police had also made an error in interviewing the victim and his friends together. He said the witnesses were all interviewed by the same police officer at the same time, in the same room, and they all gave accounts which were all the same as one might expect. Not police procedure as I understand it, but that's what happened. Thompson encountered the victim and his friends opposite St Nicholas's Cathedral in Newcastle. He made a comment about wanting to smash your face in and was told in response, "Come on, we have all had a good night, you are drunk, go home." Thompson appeared to go along with that and put his hand out as if to shake hands, but instead punched one of the men in the face, knocking him to the ground and breaking his cheekbone. Further punches were thrown and there was a scuffle. The victim was left with an extremely nasty injury, a broken cheekbone which required surgery. Recorder Gumsley said, "It shows the danger of one punch. We have all been involved in cases where that one punch can lead to a bang on the head and death." He added, "People are pig sick of not being able to go in the city centre because of people like you, drunk and out of control." Thompson admitted unlawful wounding and was sentenced to 12 months, suspended for 18 months with 100 hours of community service. A Northumbria police spokesman said, "A delay in this particular case was caused as a result of evidential difficulties, of which the victim was kept updated throughout. We acknowledge the judge's comments in relation to the interviewing of witnesses, an issue that we had already identified internally, and we will make sure that these are taken on board moving forward." How can you make such a stupid mistake interviewing everybody together at the same time? I mean, what? Anyway, that's all I have for you today. Please like, share, comment and subscribe. Let me know your thoughts, as I know many of you will, and until next time, stay safe, look after each other, film the police and other officials.
Good night, all.
Thank you for taking the time to watch this video. If you like the content and you'd like to help support the channel, you can do so. In the description of every video there are some links to ways that you're able to help support the channel so I can continue putting out content. If you're unable to help us in that way, hit that subscribe button up the top there. If you haven't already, become a subscriber. That is support enough. Share the videos, comment, like, it all helps. If you're looking for something else to watch, up top there is my latest video. Down the bottom there is a video that YouTube recommends for you.